Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings from Team Asian Conference. We extend a very warm welcome to our distinguished panelists and guests for today's Nadi conversation entitled Riverfront Development Projects The Potential Outcomes. Asian Confluence is a think tank institution headquartered in Shillong, Meghalaya, in northeast India that works through research, training, advocacy, and exchange programs towards creating better understanding of the Eastern South Asian region in the larger framework of the Indo Pacific region. Our vision is for a stable and prosperous Asia where ecology is honored, diversity is celebrated, prosperity is shared, sovereignty is respected, and boundaries become connectors. This is the sixth session of our Nadi Conversation Series 2. Nadi, which stands for Natural Allies in Development and Interdependence, is our ongoing initiative which includes a series of webinars, lectures on the common theme to highlight the narrative of a celebration of our common riverine and civilization heritage of the nations and people in the Ganga Brahmaputra Meghna Basin. Riverfronts are treated as extension of urban spaces and are often conceived as vibrant, throbbing, or breathing spaces by the designer. Concrete wall, embankments, reclamation of the riverine floodplain, and commercialization of the reclaimed land are the innate components of these projects. We have the honored privilege of having with us two stalwarts from the field of riverfront development, Professor C.R. Babu and Dr. P.S. Rana, who would be telling us about the various aspects associated with these projects. Professor C.R. Babu served as a faculty member of the Department of Botany at the University of Delhi for more than 35 years. He is the founder director of the Center of Environmental Management of Degraded Ecosystems and School of Environmental Studies at the University of Delhi. Presently, he is a professor emeritus at the University of Delhi and distinguished professor of the environment and ecology at the School of Human Ecology, Ambedkar University, Delhi, and was also the pro vice chancellor for the University of Delhi from 2005 to 2000 to 2005. He served as the project director of the Center of Excellence program of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and was in charge of the Biodiversity Parks program of Delhi Development Authority. His area of interest has been working on areas of conservation biology, biodiversity, ecological restoration, ecosystem dynamics, and function for more than 40 years. Presently, he is working on the rejuvenation and restoration of rivers in India. Dr. P.S. Rana is as present the chairman of Board of Governors Construction Industry Development Council India. He obtained his degree of Bachelor of Technology in Civil Engineering from IIT Delhi, followed by a post graduation in Town and Country Planning from the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. In June 1990, he joined HUDCO as Executive Director for Environment and Technology to set up the new projects. He later took over as the Executive Director for Infrastructure and organized the Urban Infrastructure Finance activity. He was appointed as the Direct Corporate Planning in 1997 and Chairman and Managing Director in 2003. Dr. Rana has been promoting new concepts of urbanization for sustainable and balanced regional development of the country through use of rail and rivers as the prime corridors of development. He has received several awards, including the Distinguished Alumni Award from IIT Delhi and the Honorary Doctorate from Civil Law from the University of Newcastle in Tyne in UK. I would He also worked as the chairman independent director of boards of several company and board of NIUA and member of academic council at the North Cap University. I welcome you both, sir, and thank you so much for joining us today. Without any further delay, I would now like to request Professor C.R. Babu to please give his presentation, which would be followed by a discussion and talk by Dr. P.S. Rana and a question answer session after that. I would now request Professor C.R. Babu to please join us.
Thank you very much, madam. Uh, Let me thank Dr. Roy for inviting me to participate in today's NADI conversation webinar on the riverfront development projects the potential outcomes as a part of the event's Asian confluence. Before we discuss the topic at length and try to what do you call answer some of your questions, I would like to give a brief presentation on the riverfront development projects. First slide number one. The riverfront development projects, the potential outcomes, and ecologist viewpoint. Most of you are aware that the rivers are complex. Next, please. The rivers are complex grassland forms that drains yet surplus surface water and discharge into oceans and lakes and form an important component of the hydrological cycle that regulates our climate and also what you call provide global weather patterns. Uh, Changes in the river ecosystems have also been contributing what you call to climate change. Next, please. During their course across the land masses, the rivers give rise to a wide range of uh, landscapes or landforms that support a rich biodiversity and generate a wide range of ecological services. You may ask me, what do you mean by the rivers give rise to a wide range of landforms? For example, the deltas, where you have a great civilizations flourish, are are the landforms that are given rise by the what you call the rivers. Similarly, the what you call the uh, the mangroves and the wetlands. All these are the different landforms that have been resulting from the rivers during their course across the land mass. Without water, there's no life on this planet, and the rivers are the source of water for humans. Uh, uh, Most of you are aware that great civilizations were flourished along the rivers, but they were also perished when the rivers were degraded or dead. Uh, the river has a the river system has a many components having living organisms. So therefore, the different components of the river are called as a ecosystems. For example, it has an open channel ecosystem, the riparian ecosystems. The riparian ecosystems are very, very critical for the what you call making the river sustainable. The floodplain ecosystems, which include wetlands, marsh ecosystems, floodplain forest ecosystems, and grasslands, and also the embankment ecosystem and upland ecosystems. Now, there's a strong ecological integrity among these diverse ecosystems. And this ecological integrity makes the entire river system to function as one unit and also makes it sustainable. Any development activity that disrupts the ecological integrity make the river system unsustainable. This is very important component that we should know it. The issues are, what is riverfront and what is riverfront development? I must give you the definitions before we enter into any debate or a discussion. For some, the riverfront is the space available outside the what you call embankment of the channel. That is most of the floodplains in the tropical rivers. And for others, it is outside the embankment or natural leaves of the river. That means outside the floodplain. For still others, it is an upland, the space available in the upland area close to the embankments of the river. Now, riverfront is, you may ask me, what I consider as the best definition for the riverfront. Riverfront is the upland located at some distance from the embankment or floodplain of the river. In fact, according to National Green Tribunal of India, it is referred to outside the embankments of the river, that is outside the floodplains. This is the acceptable definition for the riverfront. Now, riverfront. Now, after knowing what is riverfront, the next question is, or the issue is, riverfront development. Now, riverfront development means what you call, for different people have a different meanings. For the real estate developers, riverfront development refers to the space available for the development of housing complexes along the riverfront. For tourist promoters, riverfront development means setting up of tourist resorts along the riverfront. For urban planners, the riverfront development means space available for the development of urban infrastructure and housing. And for industries, riverfront development means the space available for setting up of industries, particularly power plants, that is nuclear power plants and the thermal power plants that require large quantities of water and discharge effluents. Next, please. Riverfront developments have been, by human beings, have been altering the ecology of the river scales to such an extent that the river systems have become a minuscules, leading to the extension of diverse flora and fauna and ecosystems and resulting ecological disasters. I will not go into too many details on this because it takes more time, but I would give only one example. For example, construction of houses on the floodplain and riverbeds and even embankments led to ecological catastrophes in Kerala, Chennai, Uttarakhand, Srinagar of Jammu and Kashmir, and also flooding of urban centers across the world. For example, Germany and Paris and Italy, including Rome, are the examples where the riverfront development activities led to what you call flooding of the many what you call modern developed urban centers in the West also. Next, please. Now, besides ecological disasters, catastrophes resulting from the riverfront development projects, the riverfront development projects have also resulted in many adverse ecological environmental impacts on the river ecosystem. For example, in India, in the name of, not only in India, even outside India, in the name of riverfront development, the rivers are trained and made to flow between two RCC walls, and all the floodplains are utilized for development of commercial complexes. I don't want to quote the example, but the famous example is the Sabarmati Riverfront Development Projects, where most of the floodplains are utilized for commercial complexes and used for concretization. Raw sewage water is discharged into river, making the rivers as sewers. It is a common in the river Yamuna along the urban stretch of river Yamuna in the downstream of Wajirabad Reservoir, as well as in other parts of the city, particularly the river Yamuna at Vrindavan in Madura. Solid wastes are dumped into river systems. Again, if you go to what you call the riverfront at Vrindavan, you never find that there is any river left out or our river ecosystem is left out. For example, next please. I must say here, the worst example I have seen so far is Vrindavan, where the entire floodplain is used for human settlements, and some of the massive residential and tourist complexes are located very close to the channel. The interesting thing is raw sewage is continually discharged in the upstream of bathing ghats, and bathing ghat itself receives sewage. It's a very, very interesting and ironical and a paradox situation. And solid waste is dumped straight into the channel. The river ecosystem is nearly dead because of the development of because of the riverfront developmental activities. Right. Now, I just give another example. The DDS Riverfront project is aimed at rejuvenation, restoration of degraded and polluted urban 20 to 24 kilometer stretch of River Yamuna. I just want to make it very clear to all of you, this project does not involve any construction activity, but essentially centers around a restoration of floodplain wetlands, marshes, and grasslands and forest communities, besides creating people-friendly walking trails and other recreation zones for connecting the people and city to the river. Restricted construction activities permitted outside the bund roads, which are serving as an embankment of the river. Development of greenways along the embankment is proposed. I just want to make here one comment. Initially, the riverfront development was long ago, about more than 60 or 70 years ago. The Delhi Development Authority was interested to development international tourist hotel complexes along the riverfront, but the the citizens protested, and now the NGT has ordered that only green activities should be allowed, and the DDA is accepted and now developing, trying to rejuvenate and restore the water. I also want to tell you, they are also with the DDA is also what you call treating sewage water that enters into floodplain wetland ecosystem by using what you call constructed wetland system. That is a nature-based solution for the treatment of sewage. Now, what I want to say is any riverfront development must take into account the cognizance of ecological sensitivity of river ecosystems. Now, this can be achieved only by the development of buffers between riverfront development zone and river system zone. This, you may ask me, what's the purpose of these buffers? These buffers provide the ecological integrity and allows the sustainability of both the systems, that is the riverfront development as well as the functioning of the diverse riparian ecosystems. Next, please. Now, the best way far are the biodiversity parks. Now, you may ask me, what are these biodiversity parks? These are unique landscapes or riverscapes and our riverscapes of wilderness that harbor natural heritage and provide much needed ecological integrity that contribute to environmental sustainability of riverfront zone and the river system zone. In fact, I must tell you, NGT has ordered to establish biodiversity parks along the floodplains of rivers as a part of rejuvenation of rivers in India. Many states and National Mission on Clean Ganga have already initiated establishment of biodiversity parks along the rivers as a part of rejuvenation and as part of their rejuvenation and restoration. For example, two biodiversity parks at the confluence of Varuna and Assi rivers with Ganga at Varanasi are planned. I also want to tell you that Delhi Development Authority has established a network of 7 biodiversity parks covering an area of 3,000 acres at different locations in Delhi to provide environmental sustainability and resilience to the city of Delhi. Uh, One biodiversity park that is called Amnabasti Park is located in the upstream of Wajirabad Reservoir along the bank of the river Yamuna. This biodiversity park has this biodiversity park spreads over an area of 457 acres, of which 157 acres is located outside the marginal bund, which prevent the floodwater entering into what you call uh, human settlements, that is the riverfront developed area. And the remaining 300 acres is on the active floodplain where the floodplain receives floodwater almost every year, and there is no developmental activity except a small area is under agriculture. I'll just show you. This is the uh, phase one of the Amnabasti Park, which is located outside the marginal bund and never receives water. And there was nothing here except a few salt-loving grasses and bushes. And in a period of 15 to 18 years, we brought back all the river basin communities here. Now today, the Amnabasti Park has about uh, 35 to 40 river basin communities having something like 2,000 species of plants and animals. This is an overview of the visitor area representing 10 different diverse ecosystems that have been recreated on this inactive plain. Next, please. Now, this is one wetland which we have created, which was there but silted. We restored it, and today this wetland receives thousands of migratory birds and provide what we call recreation to a large number of citizens of India, citizens of Delhi, and also provide a natural nature education to the students of different levels, one at school level, the college level, and university level. Now you can see, next slide. This is an active floodplain area which receives, in other words, there's no riverfront development in this area. Now, it has a 100-acre wetland which receives floodwater and stores 500 million gallons of floodwater every year, which is recharged to the groundwater as well as to the rivers. And then you have a mosaic of grasslands, floodplain forests, and also you have a marshes. And it's almost like a tiger habitat, and tiger can come at any time to this habitat which we created along the river corridor from Rajaji National Sanctuary, Rajaji National Park. Right, next, please. What I want to conclude my small presentation, I conclude my presentation by stating what we need today is the rejuvenation and restoration of rivers passing through urban centers as a part of urban renewal and not riverfront development. This can be achieved through the establishment of biodiversity parks. Thank you very much, and I would be very happy to answer your questions or participate in your debate. Question answer.
Thank you, Professor Babu, for the lovely presentation and a very thought provoking presentation for that. Now, I will request Dr. Rana to please come and and tell us about his opinion and his perspective on this particular topic. Over to you,
No,
sir.
if there are certain questions which professor want to answer, then and if the audience wants them, we can still have because there is plenty of time. Otherwise, I can.
It will be
So we
better,
would like
sir.
to, we could take
It
the
would be
questions
better.
at the end of your
Yes.
talk when we begin
Okay.
with the question answer session.
It will be better,
Okay.
sir, if they hear you also, sir. We would like to hear
Okay.
you because you go the
Okay.
other way.
No, actually, I have no difference of opinion what professor says, and it is naturally we have to protect our rivers. There is no doubt about it. And let me. Can I share the screen?
Yes, sir.
Mhm. Share, yeah, here it is. Is it?
Not
No.
seen, sir.
Mhm. I can't leave studio, but share. Uh, yeah, now entire
Yes.
screen. Yeah, it is a.
Our, our,
Mhm.
our, our screen is very
Something.
quick.
Yeah, let me video file. Mhm. Let me try again. Something. Oh, I think there's some problem with the sharing. Is it visible? No,
Very small,
small. So I
uh,
have to.
slightly blob, full screen. It should be full screen. It is not full
Yeah.
screen.
Is it now?
Better, better.
So
Or
it's in a
maybe
slideshow mode.
now?
Um,
Is it?
We can read, sir. We can read, no problem.
You can
But
read.
yes,
uh,
sir.
Oh, so it is still very small,
small, but we can read.
huh?
Uh,
So I I fully agree what Professor says that we have to not only preserve the rivers, I would say that we have to preserve the entire water ecosystem, right from the smallest streams or drains to the big rivers. And everything need to be protected. And I go even to the extent, Professor, I promote a concept of micro water equilibrium. That means we have to start right from the small settlement and the cities. Because unless we protect the smaller water systems, we are not able to protect our big rivers also. So, from that angle, if I say that right from a village or a town, the entire ecosystem has to be maintained. And the problem which we have done, that earlier settlements used to be on the high ground only. And that is why the water drainage system of the natural drainage were well maintained, and settlements were up, far away from them, except some small ghats on the side of the rivers. But when the settlement started growing right into the valleys, and as you rightly said, the flood plains or the even the river beds or the drainage system beds, then the real problem started coming. An example, as you rightly said, we can take anything. Say even in Yamuna, what has come up. Let me just be quick on. There are many things I should go more on the visuals. Riverfront, I agree with you. The riverfronts have been tamed everywhere, almost in every city, because wherever development comes to protect the development, the rivers have been tamed or embalmed. And that is why this concept of riverfront development or riverfront control came into existence. Any city you see, wherever the river passes through the city, the ghats alone were not enough, and that is why they were complete embankments were made. So, and people have been using it. You may say that it is against the diversity. I agree with you. And see, uh, every city you may named, they have done it, and the life flourish around it in the part of the city. And as you rightly said, in every city which has grown has controlled the river the way they felt the need. But in Delhi, what has happened? This is what Delhi is. So how to handle it? As you had given some good suggestions that yes, some of the diversity parks and those things are developed, but particularly in a seasonal river, the river does not flow end to end. It is dry most of the year, and during the monsoon only, about 12 billion cubic meter of water flows down the drain, down the river. And this is what is happening in Delhi. So how to control this? That is why the system came that only 22 kilometers of Yamuna stretch in Delhi out of 1370 contribute 80% of the pollution. And that's why we have to really segregate the river from the city and the problems which is creating. That's why we thought if out of 1370 kilometers, if 22 kilometer is really creating more danger to the Yamuna rather than people benefiting out of it, so we can develop the riverfront in such a way that within the urban area we control it, but we compensate more than that on the remaining area. So we thought, all right, of the total length, even not the 50 kilometer which is end to end, even if we control just about 22 kilometers and develop the rest in such a way, this is the sort of, you can see that wide channel, and the water channel is, none of the bridges in Delhi is more than 500 meters, while the river bed is something 3.5 to 4 kilometers. And then we thought, all right, can we do something where, luckily we have two rivers near Delhi. One is Yamuna and another is Hindon. So can we make use of as a combination, um, can we develop some sort of lakes upstream so that we regulate the water within the city limits and then again create another lake downstream, and in such a way that the ecosystem is also maintained and the river within the city limits is also controlled and regulated. Then we thought that it is only conceptual. Then we thought, why, what the actual survey will show. When we worked it out, the three reservoirs can be created in such a way that, like this, north of Delhi and on the north of Ghaziabad and down between Faridabad and Greater Noida, in such a way that these are large reservoirs to store the water during monsoon and regulate it otherwise also. And excess water is penalized through another reservoir north of Ghaziabad, and then from there further down, so that a bypass is also developed. And the two as a combination will control the floods as well as regulate the water and make the water reservoirs available. And this will be perpetual water bodies, not only seasonal water bodies. And with the 2 billion cubic meter of water being stored at any given time, they will recharge the entire area. And then within the city, if we develop, as you were mentioning, this lake is all the parks as well as some islands and everything is there. It is a vibrant ecosystem. And then we said, all right, then within the city of this 22 kilometers, that has to be regulated in such a way that the today's situation of encroachment, dumping, and all misuse can be controlled and make it a usable space for the people. That is why we developed it. That what are the different flood plains of the, and then it can be developed. Yes, it can be defined in such a way, and we can always develop it and use it as the recreation area and flood area. Now, these were the basic concepts. Some of the areas can be more intensely developed, but very controlled. Now, you were mentioning about Sabarmati. Yes, I agree. Sabarmati was financed by us. I'm partly responsible for it. But if you really see why it was done, I think if I have some picture, let me try. Uh,
Slides
Sabarmati
are
before,
not, sir, your
yeah,
slides are not moving. Your
okay.
slides are not moving.
Uh, Now that slides have been closed. I'm putting the,
Of course. Ah, so I now triggered the this.
yeah. Mhm. So I think slides are not coming. I can discuss otherwise. So, Professor, what is the Sabarmati riverfront development, it has become a dirty drain in Ahmedabad. I think whenever you might have visited it, it was so stinking and dirty, and that it was a rather a problem to the city, worse than a Ganda Nala. Now, if within that space, I fully agree we have to maintain the river ecosystem, and out of the thousands of kilometers of river length, if we have to regulate certain percentage, not even 1% of it or 2% of it, and that also to maintain it, not to destroy it, but main purpose is to maintain it. Now I will go to slightly different area, as you rightly said, the ecosystem. I believe my that we can even have sewerless cities. Why and how? That means if we no, what we are doing with the water, we are polluting it one way or other, whether through use or through neglect. If we create a system that we treat the water at the point of pollution itself, or as close to the point of pollution as possible, rather than collecting it all at the bank of the Yamuna and then try to discharge even half of it untreated. If we make every city, every colony, every neighborhood, or even every condominium as self reliant, they have to treat their water and discharge in the public system only the treated water. My concept of urban planning, professor, is that we have to create in our planning system, at least in the urban system, 5% of the total city must be under perpetual water bodies
Yes.
to retain the entire stormwater as well as the treated water from after use. Because to maintain the water balance, we cannot allow the entire water to flow away and keep on bringing the more water. So let us make, like, each village used to be, a pond and a well next to it. It was a sustainable system for the village. So why can't we develop even, the urban planning itself in such a way that we make the local water equilibrium as sustainable? And only if there is an excess water from one neighborhood or one colony or one township, whatever, the aggregated concept will come, then only it is allowed to flow to the next water body. And the water bodies can be networked through a sort of a small canal systems that take care of that means the city does not have ganda nalas or sewer system, it has only clean canals and clean water bodies. So even if a large condominium or even a campus of, say, IIT campus or Delhi Uni campus, if they also have a large lake and treat their entire water and put in the lake, even the rainwater harvesting, I don't support it, because it gives us an opportunity to pump in the dirty water or even polluted industrial water into the system, underground system. The recharge should be only through ground crust. That means surface water body should have treated water and let it percolate. Then it will be visible also whether we are percolating dirty water or clean water. So the idea is that even our city planning today, India is only about 32% urbanized. 68% is still rural. In future, naturally, our agriculture or cultivation cannot sustain even 10% of the labor force, because the GDP contribution by the agriculture is hardly 13-14%, and it will reduce further. So we have to urbanize. There is no other option. But how to urbanize is the issue. Are our mega cities sustainable? No. If this is not the topic of the day, but otherwise I would have made a detailed presentation what should be our concept of urbanization. And if you might have heard Dr. Kalam, the Pura concept, that was
Yes.
that was our joint effort, and to convinced that the future urbanization of the country should be in such a way that 10% will remain in the villages, I agree, because the agriculture will sustain only that much. But 90% people have to come to the cities. But what kind of cities? The idea was that 70% should be in the core cities and 20% in the suburbs. The question comes, Professor, what should be the size of the city? You know, if we take two basic parameters, water and transport, I think if you really examine when the size of the city start growing up beyond 2 to 3 lakhs plus, then the cost of living and cost of maintaining the city start shooting up, whether it is transport or it is water supply or disposal. So the real ideal city size is 2 to 3 lakhs. Less than 1 lakh, it is not viable because we cannot have sustainable um, social infrastructure and economic infrastructure. So minimum 1 lakh. You can see any town in the country less than 1 lakh doesn't seem to be sustainable or viable. But yes, beyond 3 lakh, it starts, even the land prices or real estate prices start shooting up through speculation. I think, in my opinion, we have misused our urban planning concepts. If I give in one line, the basic concept of master planning was to facilitate supply of service land in a planned and a coordinated manner at affordable prices. But what we did, we controlled the supply of service land for non-agriculture uses and created artificial scarcity and created speculation. And in my opinion, if we really do our urbanization in a planned manner with 2 to 3 lakh cities, population cities, and a network, as I said, taking railway and river as the main spine for the development, then we can manage even urban prices not more than 5,000 rupees per square meter and affordable to everybody. You see any city less than 2 lakhs, your prices will be 3 to 4,000 rupees per square meter. But we create, through our master planning, we have created artificial scarcity. Particularly, what is the purpose of a city? Economic activity primarily. Not, it is not, purpose is not residential. Residential, the villages were good enough. The purpose of the city is to create an aggregate for viable economic activity, whether it's secondary or tertiary. And what we do in the master plan, not more than 5% commercial. Why? If the city requires 20% commercial for creation of the secondary or tertiary activity, why do we control it? My opinion is, I was once asked, what is my criteria of that city is having a free competition or it is a not a controlled monopoly of a authority or a, I said when commercial properties will be sold cheaper and rented cheaper than residential, I will say there is a free supply of spaces. Because if you have the freedom to develop an area, whether office space or residential, office space will be cheaper. Why should it be rented? Or you may have higher taxes on it because for that activity. But why the price should go up? So I think the basic concepts and what I feel that the system should be such that I agree with you. The riverfront should be maintained in the heart of the city, or if it is a side of the city.
Yes.
And let me try if I can put a picture which I tried to develop for my. Uh, hmm. Is it? Can I?
Not visible, sir.
Not
That is
visible.
visible. Good. I think.
No,
No, sir.
Yeah,
not
it is
visible, sir.
visible. Huh?
No,
No, sir.
no.
It's not visible,
Not.
sir.
No. How to share it again? I have to find the. uh. Share. Let's see if any one of can come up. It is, but how to share, that is the issue, coming the problem.
Dr. Roy, can you direct him? Can you give him some instructions, Dr. Roy, how to
How
operate this?
to,
Operate,
Sir,
yes.
you need to just share your screen the way you did it earlier. It's the
Can
same
you
yeah.
way,
help
sir.
him?
Is
You need
it
to share the
He's
screen.
unable.
now? Now it has come.
No, sir.
No,
I'm
sir.
just giving my technician. He will able to tell you.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You sir just click on share button. There is one share button in your screen. You
Yeah,
see?
I'm clicking that, and
You click it, sir. Then you will find the share screen button. Hello.
I think he lost the connection.
Yeah, I think so. He has lost the connection.
Huh?
We will wait for a moment. Maybe he will rejoin.
In the United States, right?
But he has lost the connection.
okay, and I'm clicking the share, and
Yes, and now you just click on share button.
mhm. Share screen.
Uh, Share screen.
Yes,
Then click
and
on the screen above one where is the screen showing. You click on the screen.
entire screen.
Yeah, entire screen. Then press the button share, and then open your presentation, and you press on F5, then whole screen will visible.
Oh,
Slowly, right?
entire screen, and
Yes, yes, sir. Entire screen.
Try to understand.
is it visible now?
No, sir, not
No,
visible.
sir.
I have opened the file, but somehow it is not.
Sir,
Actually, your
you can
screen.
go to share screen and then there'll be an option of entire screen and there'll be an
Yes,
option of a window next to it.
yes, there is a screen, then the
Hmm.
entire screen.
And there
Click
is an
on the
option
entire.
of a window in case you've opened up the file, sir.
Yeah, file is open, but
First of all, you have to share your screen, sir, because your screen is not shared. That's why your
okay,
presentation is not visible. Yes, sir.
okay. Let me.
Not allowing. Stop.
Yeah, here screen sharing was cancelled. Make sure you click share on the model and not. I am
So you need
putting
to
here.
share the screen. The one that you clicked
Acha,
was
there
on
is one
cancel.
video file and share screen. Which one should I?
Share screen, sir.
Share
Share
screen, sir.
screen.
Yes, it is share screen. And
Yes,
now
sir.
Yeah.
screen remaining easiest screen sharing. Follow these steps. Some screen let you share audio. Look this. Don't. Acha, okay. Then I say share screen.
Hmm.
Now it comes
Entire screen or it
and
comes window.
choose what you share. Entire screen. Hmm. Is it okay?
No, sir, not visible, sir. Now it is visible, sir.
Hmm.
Yes,
Some,
sir.
yes, something is coming. Yes, sir. Now you
Yes,
click
sir.
on F5 button, sir. It will full screen.
Yeah.
F5 only. Just top of the your keyboard. There is F5 button.
F5.
Yep, F5.
Uh-huh. It says PC screen only, duplicate, extend, second screen only. What? Which one?
No, no, sir. This is not only views. There is a view presentation, or in your right hand side there is a slideshow button. You can click on right also. Just
Yes, the
your zooming
slideshow.
mode. Yeah, you just click on slideshow button, sir.
Yeah, slideshow is put in.
But it is not visible to us, sir.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, now you yeah click on yes, sir. Now it will.
Now, should I click on the slideshow
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, yes, sir. You click on this.
or F5 now? Let me see which one.
Both. No,
Sir,
just
slideshow, sir.
slideshow. Just click on slideshow button.
Yeah.
Sir, if that's not happening, then you can go on top. There's a thing next to animations and slideshow.
Animation and slideshow.
Yes, sir.
On
On
top, top.
top.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yes, sir. Slideshow.
Hmm.
Next to
What
animation, sir.
on the top? Hmm?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
On the top, slideshow.
No, sir. Little
News,
right side, sir.
Right,
Top,
sir.
top, sir.
Right,
Right
sir.
side. Yes, sir. Right side.
transition,
Then,
Right.
animations.
then
And
Next
slideshow.
one.
Any
Slideshow,
yeah,
sir.
yes, sir.
Click. Then comes from beginning. Go left, sir. Go left.
Le-
Extreme left.
extreme left, sir.
from
Yeah,
beginning.
this. Yes, sir. Click on.
Is it no?
Um, no,
Is
sir.
it visible now?
No, sir. It's okay, sir. We can see it like this. We can see it
Okay.
like this. Maybe just
Okay. Then I
up and
think
down.
as I was mentioning, if you can read it, is
Yes,
something.
sir.
So, as I was mentioning, that objectives of planning were to facilitate supply of service land for non-agriculture activities in a planned and coordinated way at affordable cost. But so it has to be with this objective, and then of course other things come. And as I said, the primary sector cannot absorb more than 10% labor. So non-farm employment to take care of 90%, and this is possible through integrated economic and social planning.
So your slide's
Now,
not moving, please.
not moving.
No, sir.
Not
You
moving,
have
sir.
to click on the thing. You have to click
Oh,
on the up and down arrow, sir, for the
yeah,
next one.
clicking. I'm clicking the. Mhm. Is it now? It is visible. Anything?
So
No,
you
it's
can just
something
use
is
the
visible, but
cursor
not
and
moving.
Hmm.
Not moving, sir. Your slide, the slide is not moving. I tell you.
so
So
you
only
can
the
just
first
use the
slide.
cursor, your mouse cursor, and go on to the next slide if the key is not working.
Uh-huh. I think mhm. The mouse, it is, the slide is changing, but not on the, it is not visible to you.
Yes, sir, not visible to us. Now it is visible, sir. Some you have
Okay,
moved some graphs.
yeah, I think then I can,
Yes, sir. Just you can use
this,
mouse and then it will. Yes.
okay. Then I think this is what I,
Now moving, sir. Slides are moving.
yeah, yeah.
Ah,
So now, as I said, the primary sector cannot employment cannot take more than 10% labor force. So 90% has to be in the secondary and tertiary, and that is where urbanization was needed. And it is possible through economic and social infrastructure at regional level. I would say our regional thing is more important. So develop new integrated industrial urban growth centers with 1 to 3 lakh population, and some of the smaller one can also be developed into that. Ultimate idea was the town should accommodate 70% of the population and employment. In suburbs, up to 30 minutes distance from the center, about 20% of population, and the 90% jobs within the city. And at least one such town should be available, accessible to the remotest village within 60 minutes. Now, how to achieve that? I said, then our urban infrastructure required an efficient and smart area. So I will deal mainly here transport and water. Now, see, if when the city size increases, your trip rate increases because the need for travel for longer distances increases. Then trip length changes means mode changes. Up to 1 kilometer walk, then cycle, then non-motorized, and then ultimately motorized. So that is why when the city size increases, the need for travel again increases. See the energy requirement for various modes. The car consumes something around 900 watts per passenger kilometer, bus about 230, and the rail system range in the even in the single figures. So that, and then the space required for different modes. So I think the basic thing comes how our urban planning should take place so that we optimize these things. And this is what happens when the city size, the demand increases, the personalized mode become very costly. Though the rail was highly costly in the initially, ultimately the rail become the most economical. But the system has to be such that it is viable for the rail. Now, Professor, here it is a sort of a controversy which I am taking out. The most of the satellite towns across the globe have failed because if there are two cities
yes,
and we put up four satellite towns of one city and four satellite of the other,
yes,
we have to create 8 more corridors or links. But if we develop these 8 cities or 8 towns along the corridor joining the two cities, that is the most efficient way at regional level. Similarly, now if I go further, that means the most cost effective, efficient, and environment friendly transport system would be rail as the basic mode and walk, cycle, rickshaw as the feeders. So, development of new rails based transportation network in the existing cities very costly, like metros. On the other hand, developing new cities along the available rail corridors will be the most cost effective. Now, if we take a corridor connecting two cities and provide only 5 things: railway, pipeline, expressway, and power line, and communication grid. Now, if I say this type of city, I would propose. As you say, if the river is passing through, yes, the center of the city can maintain that sort of ecosystem and biodiversity park, but the city is surrounding with it along the railway, two railway stations joining by a sort of a electric trolley bus. So that means you have within walk electric trolley bus and then the railway, and this is the river maintained within the thing. If we go series of such towns along the railway and ultimately let us make a sort of a triangle. Now, if this triangle, this is the urban ribs and hinterland in between, so we can maintain this as a planned urbanization with rural ambience. And this was taken example for NCR. Now, if we
Yes.
extend it to the entire NCR region, so about 10 to 12% area under these urban ribs, and rest is all rural hinterland, and it provide access to the hinterland as well as a very eco-friendly urban development system. Now, if I this can be further, let me put it. I go to then even the neighborhood level. I said it should be in such a way that each neighborhood is self-sustained. As I said, even every neighborhood should have its own water bodies, and then that is sustained, and they discharge only the treated water to the public system. And naturally, the certain then I tried that the main corridors of and as you were saying, the Sabarmati. This was the position of Sabarmati
Yes.
before project, and this is now. So I think it is revival of the bad thing into a good thing. I agree. Initially, it was a wrong because the development has come in such a way that river has become almost a drain. But after this, it is a sort of a revival of the thing and improvement over it rather than. So these were the things of basic concept. I said we have to tackle the urbanization right from the smallest town. And if we develop in such a way that I said no natural drainage system should be ever disturbed. Sometime I know, Professor, you are an environmentalist, but sometime I on one point I disagree. Say in Delhi, you have been part of Delhi University. Delhi University, Old Delhi, South Delhi, all are on the ridge, isn't it? They are
Yes, sir.
all developed on the ridge, and the ridge is very
Yes.
green. But wherever we have not developed the ridge is only bushy. I think the development in the valleys have destroyed our ecosystem rather than development on the ridge. See, because whenever we started developing the valleys, what has happened? Water flows down. The water should stay in the valley. The lower areas are meant for water. Now we say for a carbon dioxide, if we generate in the valley, it will not go to the ridge. If if human beings generate carbon dioxide on the ridge, it will flow down to the valley. The valley should have the green and water, and habitation should be on the ridge, so that the natural drainage of water as well as the carbon dioxide goes into the valley, and the valley absorbs it, either in water or in the greenery. So the classical example is Delhi. The entire Delhi developed on the ridge. The ridge is green. I said the extension of the development of Delhi should have been between Gurgaon, Faridabad to Alwar, rather than Dwarka and Narela, because we have killed the fertile agriculture land in Dwarka and Narela, and our Jheel Najafgarh is totally destroyed, which was recharging the water throughout year. I belong to a village in that area, and I know in my childhood the water table used to flow between 10 feet in the summer, and then after monsoon used to come to 7 to 6 feet, and again by the summer it goes to 10 feet. But this entire Jheel Najafgarh and the floodable area plains, which by after 79 floods, we widened the Najafgarh drain, and the drain out the entire monsoon water into the Yamuna, creating more flood and depriving of the area of recharging. So I think unless we start planning right at the smallest rivulet level or the drain level. Second part, I would like to say that the riverfront development, the Yamuna concept, why I took it up, that we have regional monsoon. We don't have perennial rivers except few. the one which are flowing through Himalaya. But they are also a very heavy flow during monsoon. And when I presented this plan in the Lieutenant Governor's meeting, our Water Commission people said, "Oh, sir, we are putting dams in the Himalayas, so we won't need the storage in the ground." I said, "My dear, how will you store the water, the rainwater from the foothills downwards? Will you pump it back to the Himalayas? We have to create reservoirs in the plains. We have to create the reservoirs in the plains to store the water which is being fed to the river through the different catchment areas. You know, the from foothills to the sea, the 1300 kilometers length, where will you store that water? It has to be stored on the ground. So I propose that a large lake, as much as the requirement comes, upstream, and another large lake downstream of every major city, so that we store water and we totally curtail the river within the city, so that we take out the water from the top if whatever additional required, in addition to the micro water equilibrium, and discharge after treatment to the lower one. So if each colony or each house is putting only the Najaf drain, will, instead of drain, we used to call it Chawla Nahar, because it was a clean water canal earlier. Now it has become a Najafgarh drain. So every drain should become a clean water canal in the city, and then you don't have to have the even sewer system or anything, because the storm water as well as the other water will flow from one lake to another lake through these canals only. So I think if we start managing from the micro, we can manage the macro also. And they say even Haridwar, Har Ki Pauri is a canal diversion of the river within the city, but the city remains outside the city, the river. So we can create such systems that ecological balance can be maintained, but within the city we have a sort of a control channel which provide you the safety, and the water should only flow, the depth wise, not horizontal. Now what has happened in Delhi? Because of the non-control, the entire river bed is silted. And because of the silting, monsoon, every time your water flows above danger mark, because the river cross section has been destroyed. So unless we maintain a dredged channel of the river within the city, it will keep on silting, and your danger mark keep on increasing. So I think we have to maintain it, but whatever is the best way, I do agree, we have to study it. Whatever is the best way to maintain it, the ecosystem, we have to do it. But within the city, we cannot afford relocation of encroached people every year. Every flood, every monsoon, you have to relocate the people and then rehabilitate them, and then again they come back. So the desilting of the river also, you cannot desilt the 4 kilometers of the Jamna bed. You can desilt only that channel of 500 meters. So if we can manage it, yes, and all the biodiversity park and those things can be in a controlled manner, in a entire 8,000 square kilometer or acres cannot be biodiversity park. It has to be, sustainable. You can't have only a forest within the city. But yes, up to some extent, that is required. When I introduced infrastructure funding in HUDCO, I said even urban forest is part of my planning system, my financing program, because urban forest is urban infrastructure. My definition of urban infrastructure was anything and everything required for the city to sustain and live and to function is a part of urban infrastructure. So the urban forest was also part of it. So I remember when I visited Karnataka, I found that lakes, the ponds which were created by Sir Visvesvaraya, they were silting up. I said, but they are drying up in January. How will the Then I asked my regional manager that you offer to the government that we will finance them to desilt and redevelop. They said, sir, but they are not part of our infrastructure program. I said, why? They are not part of urban infrastructure. I said, no. Every town must have a source of raw water within 5 to 10 kilometers of its area, and that is urban infrastructure. So, you have to see in such a practical way that how to maintain the total system. And I said, regional system, you cannot have a viable town alone. It has to be have a regional level. We call it green building, green township. I said, no, we should talk of green region. Our district is the real viable unit where we maintain the integration of urban, rural, and water and transport, everything as an integrated system. So that is where I think our concept of urban planning have failed world over. I do agree, and we have to correct it and take care of what is the most optimum way of use of resources. And resources are water, whether it is for transport, whether it is energy or it is human manpower. These are all the resources and the land itself. Second part, Professor, I would again put we have been created so many myths to pollute our mind. We say, oh, we have to, the city has, where is the land? The land is a resource commodity. I said, yes, rural land is a resource, limited resource because we can't expand rural land. But urban land has been expanding. Delhi is not same as it was in 1947 and now. That means urban land has been expanding.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
then second question comes, how much land do we really need if we have to urbanize our 90% population in 2050? We say, if we urbanize everything, where will we grow our food? That's a basic question put in our mind. I said, can we have a guess? How much land do we need to urbanize our entire population? What percentage of the India's land will be required, sir?
Mm.
If I tell you, if we improve our standard of living 3 times of today's MIG, then our requirement will be 3 to 4% only. And we create such a myth in our mind. If we can't see our if Japan can sustain much higher population density and can be food sufficient, we are the 51% land is under cultivation. And 4% land, if we put in the urban, and that too in a such planned way as I putting it, the planned urbanization with rural ambience, we are not degrading the land, but we are upgrading the total environment. We have to plan in such a way. And that will be most cost effective, least energy consuming, and more ecological balancing. That is my proposal. I fully agree that I appreciate. I am sitting in Chicago now, and I see here system is you cannot disturb a drainage. You cannot even if it is in your private land.
Yes.
The natural drainage system cannot be disturbed.
Yes.
I think, and that is the way we should work.
Yes.
But yes, certain. See, we make a law, but misuse it. CRZ, Professor, CRZ, what has it done? It has only encroached the seafront.
Yes.
It is used for dumping, garbage dumping, open defecation, and encroachment. People are going into the sea by reclaiming, and we are saying that no, don't go near the sea. And that means when the tsunami came, I was lucky to accompany Dr. Kalam to go to when we visited. We found wherever there was some structure on the sea coast, it was protected. Wherever there was no structure on the sea coast, the villages were wiped out. So we have to have some sort of protection. But yes, That does not mean we should destroy it. Rather, not doing it, we are destroying today. As I showed Yamuna, by not doing anything to Yamuna, what is the position? It is totally polluted and we can't even go to it. So we have to go in a very conscious, planned way. Yes, yes, we have to do it. And what is the best way to do it? With all our general consensus. As I said, the University Ridge is the most green area. You have been there. The civil lines and the University Ridge. That is all ridge. Your the South Delhi, your Vasant Vihar, Vasant Kunj. Vasant Kunj is slightly later, but they're all very green. GK1, GK2, they were all rich. So I think if we do it in a planned manner, high ground development and the low valley for the water and greenery, I think that will be the more sustainable way of having our urban development, and I would say human settlement development, whether it's urban or rural. The total human settlement in such a way that they are more sustainable. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rana. It was very nice listening to you and getting another perspective from the point of the cities and cities being an important part for urban development and connecting it to riverfront development. We have a lot of questions that we would want to ask, and I would like to begin as we have exceeded a bit of our time, but we can at least take 2 to 3 questions from our
Yeah.
viewers. So, the first one that I would like to ask is what has been the advantages of establishing the biodiversity parks on the Yamuna riverfront? So I would first request Dr. C.R. Babu to please give his view on this, and then Dr. Rana could also give his opinion and his perspective.
Can you repeat your first part of your question?
What has
What?
been the advantages of establishing the biodiversity parks on the Yamuna riverfront?
See, let me tell you very briefly. I will not go into the details. Uh, the river basin communities are the natural heritage of the river Yamuna in Delhi state has vanished. In other words, the flora and fauna of the river disappeared. Now the issue is how to bring this back. And for this purpose, we established the Yamuna Biodiversity Park. Now the Yamuna Biodiversity Park now harbors 35 biological communities and a finest wetlands that not only preserve the biodiversity of the river Yamuna basin along the Delhi stretch, but also provide a wide range of ecological services. You may ask me, it acts as a filter for both point and non-point source pollution. If you look at the amount of carbon dioxide that is sequestering is enormous. You look at the soil carbon storage as well as the storage of carbon in the standing biomass. We have a huge, we have a forest which are closed, 3 story, and attaining, the canopy is attaining to the height of about what you call 45 feet. In fact, we added a new green cover to the Delhi. What is that new green cover? Our forests in the Biodiversity Park are 3 story. You have just only plantations elsewhere. Now, this 3 story forest will not only filter all the pollutants, assimilate carbon dioxide, but also must provide what you call uh, make the dry weather into a wet weather, and also recharging substantially large quantity of water. Now, let me tell you, I've already told you, we restored many wetlands. These wetlands receive flood water and store flood water throughout the year. And this water is not only recharging the groundwater, but also recharging the channel in the dry season where the flow rates are very low. I also want to tell you, Dr. Rana has pointed out that we should create a reservoirs in the upstream. And I'm telling you, sir, I think the Lieutenant Governor has already suggested that we should develop a reservoirs to store the flood water and to make Delhi self-sufficient. And that work is being done as a part of the Biodiversity Parks program, and we would be able to achieve that in the next maybe few years if the LG approves the, the proposal. This is all what I want to
Yeah,
say. And I
yeah,
also must tell you, I must tell you, sir, these biodiversity parks are providing nature education, including environmental education, for 0.2 million students every year. 0.2 million students visit these biodiversity parks for getting practical training on the environmental education. And and it has a very rich genetic resources. Now let me tell you, the the bioprospecting of these plant resources have now led to the development of one Ayurvedic drug, which will be announced very soon by the Ministry of Ayush as a drug for COVID-19. So it has many advantages, and it is buffering the local weather. If you come down to the Biodiversity Park in the hot summer, you find a 5 degree difference between the temperature outside the Biodiversity Park and inside the Biodiversity Park. So it's buffering the local weather. It has many, it is providing many ecological services. So that's the advantage. And also I must tell you, the water that what we call comes into some of the wetlands is a raw sewage, and that raw sewage we are treating it by constructed wetland system with a zero energy, and then the clean water is entering into the river Yamuna. And in fact, we are planning to treat something like 3,000 MLD raw sewage using the constructed wetland system along the riverfront. Are you satisfied, madam?
yeah. And I can add, Professor,
Yes,
I
sir.
can add, the reservoir which I am proposing is not a small one. The north one is 200 square kilometers, and the
Yes,
north of Ghaziabad is about 100 square kilometers. A city, the water is the real balancing factor for your total climatic conditions.
yes,
And water storage of that kind, it will be like a sea next to your city.
yes.
200 square kilometers. When I proposed, people were saying, oh, where is the land? I said, I will do the contour survey and tell you where is the land.
It is
Because
available,
the
sir, in
river,
the right, sir.
so I think water, why do we have geological park in the city or biological park or park? The city required, these are the lungs of the city.
Yes, sir.
And what we are, see, we both have the same observation and we same objective, that how to make the city and its environment and the region sustainable and ecologically balanced.
Yes,
But we have to control certain things from going bad. As we say, why Jamuna has gone bad? Because we did not manage it. Why Jamuna has become so polluted? Because we allowed everything to flow into it. So we have to find ways to control. And if I say, if we can develop cities of 2 to 3 lakhs, they are so manageable and most optimum in use of resources and affordable to the poorest. So that is the purpose. Mega cities. Can you believe after World War II, no mega city has come in developed world, because the mega city development is part of undevelopment, because we don't develop the region, so people flock to the point where the infrastructure or the facilities or employment are. If we develop a region, no mega city will come up. We the development of mega city is lack of planning or lack of proper planning of the region or development of the region. We should not allow mega cities to come up because they are not cost effective, they are not user friendly, they are not even social life friendly. We should maintain the settlements manageable and cost effective.
Thank you, sir. Another question that I also wanted to ask was, there's a problem of rehabilitation in because of these projects. So, what can be the what has been or what can be the impact of the river development projects on the economic development of the local communities? Means how does it benefit them? It does not benefit, they have to rehabilitate, but what is the impact of these projects on their economic and their livelihoods?
So, Professor,
I
will you
think
like to
Rana
say
Sahab
or I
would
say?
you talk. No, sir, you
Okay.
please say. That is your question.
See, rehabilitation is a normal phenomena. Whenever we take up anything, I remember once I was asked to do a study for three steel plants in area which is more rather tribal area. And naturally, there was a when you develop a large steel plant in a tribal area, lot of relocation and rehabilitation take place. So my advice and the report which my team gave was that let the people feel it has brought prosperity to them rather than misery to them. Then how to do it? So we say first of all, let us take 10-kilometer radius outside the plant site which we are proposing, identify all the villages, identify, take their demographic profile from the census and otherwise, or if you have to conduct a new survey, please do it. Identify what sort of skill people have and what sort of skill people can be developed to, and then see what sort of jobs we will be creating during implementation of the plan, whether construction labor or whatever the different trades of the construction site, and what labor type you will require after the plant start operative. And please set up training centers for those people so that the people in the 10-kilometer radius are trained in advance to fulfill those jobs. And even the women who were only doing, say, the some collection from the forest produce and all, I said set up training centers for them, how they can collect those products, how they can do value addition and packaging and marketing, help them in those areas so that they should feel that when the plant come, it has brought prosperity to them rather than misery to them. And I think if you take people into confidence and prepare them for the betterment, there is no resistance. People always want better prosperity. People want benefits. And I said, if we do less control and more competition, even in the urban settlement, I think we can achieve those. Resettlement is not a problem if we take it in the right way.
Professor Babu, would you like to say something?
No, I can say that yes, I agree that issue of resettlement and or relocation of these people. We have a problem in the Yamuna floodplains. There are two villages, and two villages, the Delhi Development Authority has found out a new site, and they asked them to move, and they went there, occupied that new site, and sold it, and again came back. You see, there are many issues in this, and they came back, and they took the land, and they sold it to somebody else, and again came back to the original site. And what I want to say is, yes, uh, there are many people who have to be shifted from the floodplains because uh, they're actually contributing to the pollution load of the river. We are developing, our floodplains have a large number of wetlands, and we are developing these wetlands, and we want to make these wetlands for fish culture, uh, fish ponds. And if once we develop that, their economic status and their livelihoods are taken care of it. And also, we are planning to see in some areas we are developing what you call a tourist attractive sites, and in those areas probably they will find a suitable employment. So we are just looking at it, but it's a real issue, and I agree with Rana that we have to do something about it.
We have to make them feel it is for their
Yes, sir.
betterment.
Yeah, for
Yeah, it is
betterment.
as simple as that.
We
And
have to
second
provide a
part,
livelihood.
as professor said, that they sell and come back. If they were owner in the old property, naturally
Yes,
they had to be given a new property. If they were
yes,
encroachers in the old property, if they were encroachers, then they should be given only rented property,
yes.
so that
Some,
so that they cannot sell it. If they were
yes.
not owners, if they were encroachers, a free housing or free anything is not sustainable in any society.
But
Yes,
that
we
is
can give
happening,
them.
sir. Yes.
Yeah, that where actually, professor, I remember once the housing policy was being discussed in the planning commission, and
Yes.
I said all our policies so far have been either pro rich or pro thief. Then people raised their, oh, what do you mean by say? I said all your tax benefit are available to the rich, because a poor man doesn't pay tax, so he has no tax benefit, whether your interest free, tax free interest or all that. But unless I go and encroach on your land, you don't look after me. So I have to be
Okay.
encroach on your land, then you will looking after me. Yes, you have to take care of me. So no, 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 they don't have roof for that. I said, should I go and loot the ration shop? You will start giving me free food. But 68% population is still in the rural. If they start flocking the cities, how will you encroach? How can you afford free housing? There cannot be free housing, even if you have to. I said, that is why my argument was that if you keep the land prices in the cities free of speculation, you are only speculating, allowing the speculation because of artificial scarcity. If the land prices are within affordable limit of everybody, nobody will encroach, and you can stop them from encroaching, because if it is available within their affordable level, why will they encroach? You can do some cross subsidizing, yes, but not free. Even if you have to give relocation of something, give it a 15 years long rental, and after 15 years you can, if they still continue there, you can transfer the ownership. But it should not be, this problem I fully endorse, that people sell it and come back.
Yes, sir.
And
You have done it.
but that is, I tell you, professor, don't mind it. It is our own people manage it. Who is making them encroach? Our own politicians. The local
Yes.
politicians are created unauthorized colonies. It is our own doing it. It is not the
Great.
poor man who is doing it. It is we are doing it. So whom to blame? The poor man or the person who is escorting them and oh, you encroach, then I will help you this. I think why your roadsides are being encroached, tell me.
The politicians.
Then I tell you, my main argument has been the face of a city is its right of ways, road right of ways. If you can manage your right of way from property line to property line in the most efficient manner and manage it and plan it, it is a big resource to the municipality. And it is the face of the city. That city is neat, clean, and functional, depend upon how your right of way is maintained.
Thank you, Dr. Rana. We'll actually take one last question because we're sorry, but we're running out of time. I'll try to combine these two questions
Yeah.
into one. So the first question is, how can riverfront development projects help in the effective management of our water resources? And can a system of effective recycling of wastewater can be employed to bring down the pollution in the groundwater and also the main river body? Um, so whoever would want to go first, please.
It's a very big question. I must tell you, it's a very big question. The answers cannot be given so simply. Let me tell you that, as Professor Rana pointed out, that we must, what you call, preserve our natural drains. But we did not preserve our natural drains. Our natural drains were converted into sewers, and those sewers are discharging the raw sewage straight into the rivers. And so the rivers in the urban stretch, wherever you go in the, across the city, across the country, are the what you call sewers. Now, what the Central Pollution Control Board has been talking about, what you call STPs, because they think STPs are the only way by which we can treat the water, and that water goes into clean water goes into the river. But unfortunately, for treatment of 1 mld, you need 5 crores for setting up a STP plant. Maintain it, you need about 1 to 2 lakhs per year. Now, how many what you call towns or how many cities can afford to have STPs? Now, in spite of that, the quality of the treated water is so low that is not suitable even for bathing. So what NGT has done, the NGT says that you forget about the STPs till you find a money, till you find a suitable mechanism, you use alternative technologies. Now that's why I'm telling you, we developed a constructed wetland system, and we are using this constructed wetland system to treat 2000 mld of raw sewage, which enters into what you call in the downstream of DND flyway. And this 2000 mld straight away enters into the river Yamuna. Similarly, I think Professor Rana was telling me that Hindan River, the Hindan River sends 2000 mld of highly polluted industrial water into the Yamuna. So we are also thinking of developing some of these alternative technologies. In that way, the river quality will improve. Now, let me also tell you, the quality of the river water will be improved, the quantity would be enhanced, provided if you maintain the ecological integrity among these different, what you call, uh, riverine ecosystems, particularly the floodplains. Our floodplains are destroyed. In some areas, what I have a 5 kilometers floodplain about 10 years ago, and today there's no floodplain. The embankment is close to the channel. So what will happen? So the result, the quality of the water is deteriorated in terms of what you call. To manage these rivers, you need what you call sustainability of the river ecosystems in a way that they would function sustainably and maintain the quality of the river water as well as the quantity. But that is not happening. And I agree, we have a way by which we must protect our natural drains, which we are talking to the Delhi authorities, but still 80% of the natural drains still carry sewage. And Najafgarh Jheel, it is NGT, sir, I must tell you, I agree with you. Najafgarh Jheel was dead. It's an excellent system of storage of rainwater, huge reservoir, but it is dead and it now carries only sewage. But NGT has intervened. Now both Delhi and Haryana government prepared a environmental management plan to restore it back to its original state. I'm telling you, I'm a member of this committee, and I think the Delhi government has agreed, and the Haryana government also agreed. Something will happen to Najafgarh Jilla.
Yeah, Professor, I would suggest one thing. My rough calculations indicate that if we preserve 2% of the surface area in the rural area as wetlands or perpetual water bodies and all that, 2% only, but
Yes.
at the appropriate locations, and 5% in the urban area. Then we can manage the total system in such a nicely. We don't need these high cost technologies and all that. They can be managed very nicely, the overall ecosystem, but we need proper planning and execution.
Agree, sir.
And I
Agree.
think if you are a member of this committee, please ensure that at least 2% of the
I see,
area
sir.
at the regional level is developed into proper wetlands and water bodies,
Yes, I'll do that, sir.
because
I'll
that
do
will
that.
take care of the shortage of water, also recharging also. In our childhood, I think this Najafgarh drain, as I told you, the Jheel Najafgarh is still known as. I live in Gurgaon now. That Dhaka Jheel is shown even on the map today, but it's not on the ground.
Yes, yes, sir.
Map shows
But
it.
sir,
Map shows it
things are
because it used to
things.
exist.
Yes, things are changing now, sir. Things are changing
Yeah,
now, and I think probably it's
and
good that Delhi government as well as Haryana government
no, I,
agree.
I'm happy you are a member of that committee. Please
Yes.
make use of it. And if any support you need from me, I am available.
I'll be in touch with you, sir. I'll be in touch
Any support,
on
and
many fronts. I'll be in touch with you.
yeah.
Right.
So I'm here about a month by November. After Diwali, I will be back in Gurgaon. So
Yes. I'll be in touch with you, sir.
yeah. Okay, Atriya. Now I think ball is in your court. You can taking the
You have
time. You can
finished
manage.
your questions, right?
Thank you, sir. I have just run out of time, but I would love to ask you some more questions on this because it's such an
Hmm.
interesting topic to talk about two different aspects. One from the city's perspective or the urban planning perspective, one from the ecologist approach, and we would love to have another one of these lectures very soon, sir. And thank you, everybody who joined us today. And thank you, Dr. Rana, Professor Babu, for joining us and giving us your perspective and your ideas on how we can go forward in promoting these projects and also making sure that it does not disrupt the ecology very heavily. So, thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Babu. Thank you, Dr. Rana, for joining us today. And thank you to our viewers for being with us and putting in your questions and encouraging this topic. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a nice
Thank you.
way of. I think I enjoyed professor's perspective, and there are not two perspectives. Atriya, there is only one perspective. How we remain sustainable, how we maintain our ecology,
Yeah.
whether it is urbanization or rural thing or industrial. Within all that, we cannot lose the sight of our basic objective.
Sir, I'm very happy that now I know you that I will be in touch with you when you come back to India.
Okay,
Bye,
fine.
sir.
Thank
Bye,
Thank
sir.
you.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.